and welcome to the Wednesday episode of DB2. Going into week 12. I still can't believe it every time it happens. We're already to week 12. Um, but we got only two teams on bye, so we got a nice plethora of games, three on Thursday for Thanksgiving. So this is David Brown with Daniel Butler as always. Butler, week 11 in the books. I know we kind of talked about it yesterday. Didn't necessarily go fantastic for either one of us. Did you end up pulling that one out? I know we
No,
recorded.
it was like super close. I think I scored the third most in the league this past
It's
week,
always
but
rough. Yeah.
but I'm still well in the path here to make the playoffs. So may not get that first round bye because we have six teams that make the playoffs, but I'll get my seat at the table and we'll see. I think I have a pretty good team, so I'm still happy. I'm still in a good mood about it. Obviously, you hate losing games like that because I would have been in first place if I would have won. But we'll keep going on. We're gonna talk about, of course, the very beginning of the episode. We talk about the top 10 performers for the week. There's always some surprises. So the top 10 performers at each position is always interesting. And we'll start with the quarterbacks. There were three quarterbacks that had over 30 points this week. One being Justin Herbert. He was number one. Aaron Rodgers, number two, had himself a game. And Jalen Hurts, thanks to three rushing touchdowns, that gives him the third spot. But Cam Newton had a really nice day. Quarterback four. Kirk Cousins, five. Trevor Simeon, six. A lot of garbage time there. Taylor Heineke, another really solid game. Seven. Colt McCoy, eight. Ben Roethlisberger right there at eight as well. And then Tom Brady rounding out the top 10. Had a nice solid day. Easy win. They didn't need too much to beat the New York Giants. Tyrod Taylor just missing outside at quarterback 11. And Flacco was there too at quarterback 12. So anything crazy you want to say with the quarterbacks there?
Yeah, all
Anything?
the names you expected to be in the top 10, Heineke, Simeon,
Uh,
Roethlisberger,
yeah.
all the names you expect.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything though. Like Jalen Hurts had three rushing touchdowns. That's probably going to be a good week if you have that. Tyrod
Yeah,
Taylor had
those extra
a
two
couple
points a
rushing
touchdown.
touchdowns, so
Yeah.
that's why he was right there. Nothing else really. Running backs. Any running backs have any good weeks this week? Was there
No, I
anything?
can't think of anything in particular
All
that
right.
went crazy.
A pretty solid week at the running back position at the top two spots. And I have seen teams that had both of these guys on it. So congrats. You won by a lot, probably. Jonathan Taylor with 53 points, five touchdowns, and Austin Eckler, 41 points. I believe he had
Yeah.
four touchdowns. So that
Yeah.
was
Oh, he did.
crazy. Christian McCaffrey had a really nice Christian McCaffrey game. He's well behind them. At number three, Mixon had a really nice day. Swift had a good day. Those are your top five. Cook right there. Chubb, Connor, Freeman, Devontae Freeman with 20 points. That's nice to see. And then Miles Gaskin rounding out the top 10. Najee Harris at number 11. And Dontrell Hilliard of the Tennessee Titans had 8 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. It's kind of like a Cordero Patterson type day. Give him running
Yeah.
back 12. Obviously, nobody played him, so who cares about that? But I think Devontae Freeman, obviously, if you played him,
Yeah.
you're feeling pretty good about that. And yeah, those top two guys. If you had Jonathan Taylor and your opponent had Austin Eckler, you could have lost. Like there could have been a game that was like 200 to 195 or something. It could have been like the sickest
It
week
would have been,
ever.
yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty crazy week at the running back position. Definitely pretty wild. Wide receivers, there was really just one name that separated himself. I mean, there was really three names that were really far ahead, but the one was Justin Jefferson. Had himself a day, 37 points, 30 and a half for Devontae Adams, and then Elijah Moore with just under 30. And then there's a pretty big drop off to Darnell Mooney, Deontay Johnson, Marquez Valdez Scantling, Adam Thielen at 7. Brandon Aiyuk, nice to see that in the top 10. Number 8, Terry McLaurin. He's a stud at 9. Mike Williams. So we haven't seen him in a while. Remember, he started off super hot
Yeah, we talked
early,
about him a lot.
and like you'd still start him because but he's got such big play potential, and he could have a big day. Had a really nice day here at number 10. Jalen Waddle, another good day, and Marquise Goodwin, but that was like one play that really helped him there. I mean, it wasn't the only thing he had, but I think he had 4 catches, I want to say, for
Yeah.
50 yards. I think he had maybe a rushing. Maybe, I don't know what he all had on. We'll see. We'll talk about the game here soon, but he ended up with 20 points. So
Yeah.
had a
He
really
he had
nice day.
one 50-yard catch, so half of his He
Yeah,
always came on one catch.
that at the end there. And then tight ends. There was one guy that separated himself way ahead. Zach Ertz had himself a game, 8 for 88 and 2 touchdowns. Colt McCoy, favorite target there. Travis Kelsey doing his thing. Darren Waller, all the usual. Adam Troutman placed on IR, but he was number 4. Mark Andrews, of course. Dawson Knox, welcome back. He's nice to see him in the top 10 again.
Yeah.
Anthony Ferkser, of course, why not? George Kittle, Rob Gronkowski, another guy, welcome back.
Yeah.
And Josiah DeGuara, hopefully I'm saying that right, Green Bay tight end. I didn't even put him in our spreadsheet because I'm like, this is not repeated. It's not even worth putting him in. But he actually was
No.
tight end 10 with, not that it takes much, 2 for 37 and a touchdown. That just tells you a tight end is, it doesn't take a whole lot
Yeah.
to get in the
I'm
top
I,
10.
I'm glad Gronk didn't have like a crazy day after we told people like maybe it's not worth waiting on him. So I'm glad he had a good day, but he didn't go crazy,
Yeah,
which is
so that is it. And we're not talking about kickers and defenses as usual. I think I think you said you just walk out.
you actually just talked about them. That's the maximum you're allowed to talk about them. Is what you just said.
But yeah, so that there's some cool names. We'll definitely talk about that here shortly, going to Thanksgiving games. But one thing I did want to mention, we're a fantasy football show, but we're both from Ohio. All right, I gotta say this because I don't know if this will hold. There are 2 Ohio teams in the top 4 in the college playoff. We might see 2 Ohio teams in the playoff, which is pretty cool. We'll see how it all plays out. I know we don't talk about college football. You never know. We might do it over the offseason. We don't know what we're going to do. But Ohio State and now Cincinnati. And it looks like Cincinnati's got a real good shot with Oregon losing. It looks like, I know we don't really
Yeah,
talk about that, but they got a shot. So we'll see. They
I'm
may
excited for
probably
him.
get destroyed by Georgia, but you just never know. That's why put them out there. We'll see what happens.
I think everybody's gonna get destroyed by Georgia.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it's like, you can't be like, oh yeah, congrats, you got destroyed. Yeah, everybody that is number 4 would have probably got destroyed by Georgia. So I don't think Cincinnati, whatever happens, I think it's still a good season. But
yeah,
we're going to talk about the first game on Thanksgiving, I believe 12:30. So
correct.
get your food
Nice and
ready.
early.
You could probably not even turn the TV on because it is the Bears against the Lions.
Oh come on, you don't
uh,
want to see Andy Dalton and what is it, Jeff Boyle, Tim Boyle. Sorry, I remembered Boyle. I couldn't remember his
uh,
first name.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you have David Montgomery, sure. John L. Mooney
Yeah.
had a nice day, but I still don't think you're
Mooney and
probably
Godwin both did, but they both
for
were
Goodwin. Yeah.
are Goodwin. Yeah,
Yeah, Goodwin
Mooney
4
had
for 104. There we go. That's what a
yeah
touchdown. Yeah.
Mooney had a 60-yard catch. Goodwin had a 50-yard catch. Like that's what those
Yeah, and it was
plays
I
were.
believe that was a screen pass on Mooney. So it's
Yeah,
like, uh,
they're not. It's not something you can count on.
but 16 targets is interesting. But if you're in the position where you're playing Mooney this week, you're probably in trouble. But if you played him this past week, and then you're probably playing him again this week, I don't see how you don't after
No,
that last game. So 16 targets, but I
I
don't
mean
really
his last
know.
2 games have been
Yeah, I mean, it's not like,
really
yeah, I
good.
mean, top 5, and even week 80 was 30. I mean, really, even going back 5 weeks, he had the 49. He's been 18, 49, 30, and then the past 2, 5, and wide receiver 4. So it's not like he had a wide receiver 14 in week 4. He hasn't had big days, but probably have better options, but still, borderline like top 30 guy. I think
Yeah,
there's some guys that you would definitely consider over, like you probably have on your team that would play over him, but not every team. I mean, especially.
it also
Uh,
comes down to do you need production you can rely on, or do you need to take a gamble? Like if you need to take a gamble, like all right, I'm overmatched this game anyways. I just need to go for the Hail Mary. Mooney's a good choice. He obviously has that potential to be a top 5 guy. Especially I think a little bit more with Dalton. I think the offense fits him a little bit nicer. We've talked about that. We don't blame Fields for what's been happening. It's even though he kind of stepped it up the last couple weeks, it's the offense is not really suited for him. So
yeah,
I think if you're in a situation where you need kind of a home run,
yeah.
there's worse chances you could take than Mooney.
I see him ranked around wide receiver 25 around Jalen Waddle. I do like Waddle over him, Mike Williams
Yeah,
over him, Elijah Moore. I like Michael Gallup over him. But then below him, Hunter Renfro. I think you're in conversation. Mooney's probably
mm,
got the big upside there. Jerry Jeudy, Rashad Bateman, Chase Claypool, Emmanuel Sanders. I might play him over all those guys. I think around that spot. So,
Yeah, I think that's actually
top
really, really
25,
properly ranked.
right around 25, I think is probably about where I would rank him. So,
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Lions side of the ball continues to be two men you care about. It's Swift and Hawkinson. I don't know how many weeks I'm going to say this. I'll give you a hint. It's going to be, what is this, week 12? It's going to be about 6 more weeks. Um, it's Swift, it's Hawkinson, and you're not touching anybody else on this team.
yeah, Tim Boyle was very bad. He threw 23 times for 77 yards. I built him up. I said, Jared Goff is the worst quarterback in all of football. I don't backups include everything. Well, it's no
How'd
surprise.
that go for you?
Obviously, Jared Goff is a starting quarterback for a reason, because he is better than probably Tim Boyle, right? And it's not like Jared Goff has been lighting the world on fire or anything, but Tim Boyle was really bad, and Detroit were able to stick around with the Browns because their defense played really well, and Swift is a stud, but it wasn't really much to do with Tim Boyle. I mean, they won. Browns beat them 13-10, I think it was. They
Sounds right.
fought. They had that long touchdown to Swift. It looked like Cleveland was well in control, and then Detroit fought back there. But yeah, Hawkinson, Swift, both studs. Both definitely love them, and I don't see how you're not getting away from either. You wouldn't want to get away from them. I mean, Swift is
No.
a top 10 back, and Hawkinson's a top 10 tight end. So
Yeah.
you're
I mean,
rolling them out
you
there.
don't love it with Boyle at quarterback with Hawkinson, but you can't bench him. But yeah, you don't love it. I will say bad sign for your quarterback when you started the entire game and you end up as the 35th best
Yeah,
quarterback. In a week, were there 4 buys? Or was it only 2? I think it was 4
There
last week.
was
Was
two.
there 2?
Yeah.
Okay. I was
But
trying to
yeah,
remember.
it was not a good day for Mr. Tim Boyle. The over under on this game is 41.5. Chicago's a 3-point favorite. So yeah, they're expecting this not to be a obviously high scoring game, and I think that's fair. I do not love this game.
That even seems a little high.
This is when you should talk to your family if you want to. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you need to watch the team. Watch the field.
Yeah. You could use this as like a bargaining chip. Like, listen, I'm going to give up one of the NFL games to be with you and show how much you care. But
Yeah.
really, you're just not watching Lions Bears. So, next up, Raiders Cowboys. Obviously, should be a significantly better game. Carr was where kind of Carr is. He's actually been playing a little bit better than this, but he was pretty low on there. Jacobs continues to be a guy you're starting and pretty happy with what he's given you. I'm still not touching the wide receivers list. Renfro, we talked about where he lands, so that tells you where we feel about him. That we think that's pretty proper in like the low 20s, or high 20s, however you want to look at it. So hopefully you have better options, but I think that's where he's going to be the rest of the season. And then Waller's a stud.
Yeah, Renfro. I mean, he only had 4 targets in this game, so that's a little concerning. But Edwards, another guy who's been good, played 83% of snaps, been solid. He was number 9 last week. But another 0-point performance. He had 2 0-point performances in the last 3 weeks, so you obviously
Yeah.
can't trust him on that. But yeah, Renfro was their number 2 receiver in snaps, but 4 targets. It was
Actually
obviously
did something.
Waller. It was Jacobs get in the receiving game, and then Renfro just 4 for 30, which isn't great. But I do feel like he's kind of like a safe receiver. I mean, 7 points isn't great, but he's involved in the offense. I think you could do worse.
Yeah.
Again, safe. I think this is the lower end. I mean, think about 10 points every week is about what he's going to give you at least.
Yeah. So if you just need a solid performance, he's a guy you can roll out there. Cowboys, we talked a lot about yesterday. If you didn't catch yesterday's, check it out. We talked about injuries. They are having a heck of a time with injuries. Elliott most likely out. I don't know if they've officially said it, but like it seems like he is. And Lamb and Cooper out. So 3 big names. You're still starting Prescott. Obviously, he didn't have a good game. You're still starting him. We think, at least I know, we talked about Gallup. I think is going to have a pretty good day. And Schultz is back to at least on the fringe of the top 10 in the tight ends. So at least this week, Prescott, Pollard, in my opinion, Gallup and Schultz are probably going to be starting in almost every league.
Yeah, I'm looking at because I was like, we kind of weren't sure yesterday, and then it says that they've downplayed the severity and they think Zeke's going to go. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously, whoever the starting running back is you're playing, you might even have
Hmm.
both Zeke and Pollard, whichever one you roll out there. And if Zeke does go, I will say Pollard. You probably don't love it, but if you've been playing him like in a deeper league, especially as a nice like flex sort of consideration, he's obviously you're still playing him, and you might even feel
Yeah,
better this week if Zeke's a little banged up. But you might, if you're kind of stuck between two guys, then you've been going back and forth, or this might be Pollard might have a little bit better day if Zeke is a little banged up. But yeah, Pollard only saw 33% of the snaps in this past week, so it wasn't like he got a ton of work. Zeke came back in and played. Yeah, so I think though definitely Gallup, if you were able to pick him up or had him this whole time, whatever the case may be in your league, he's a borderline top 20 guy, and then whoever the running back is. And obviously, you're not sitting Dak, even though he came off of a really bad week. You just gotta,
you'll have those.
you just have to go with it. It was not a good game by him or Mahomes. It was a weird game. So,
Yeah.
and nobody else really in consideration. Cedric Wilson in a deep league, you could consider, but that's about
Yeah.
it.
Yep. Bills Saints to wrap up Thanksgiving. Allen lower than we've kind of come to expect him, but I mean, you're getting with him. You're still rolling with him. Singletary, kind of the same way, a little bit lower than what he's been doing the last couple weeks at least, but still a guy you're gonna roll with. And Dig, like we know a lot of the things at this point. Diggs, Knox. It was very nice to see him get back into that top 10. He'd been playing very well and then had a bad week 10 after coming off the injury. So um, good to see him rolling. And Sanders and Beasley kind of continue to be where they are. Like if you're in a pinch, I think they're fairly safe guys in that range. Like we talked about Mooney being an upside guy, I feel like Beasley and Sanders are kind of the safe guys in that range. Where if you know you just need a few points, you just need to not get shut out at that position, they're a decent way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm much lower on them now. I think the offense is kind of. I mean, it's obviously Diggs. Diggs is the stud, but
Yeah.
they haven't really done much. Week 9 is the last time either one of them had a good day, and then I mean before that they were both had good days a
Yeah.
lot. But yeah, so I'm much lower on them. But I will say with the running back situation, I don't like any of these guys. I mean, I've had Zach Moss. I haven't started him, but dropping
Yeah.
him.
I'm in
I
the
think at
same
this
boat.
point, he had seen 29%. I mean, this is a running back by committee. They're almost third of the snaps for each of them. So I don't see how you start any of them, honestly. Like, it's really just
No.
like in a deeper league, obviously, you're maybe doing it. But in a 12-team league, I feel like there's good chance that you have a much better option. I mean,
No.
I mean, I would
You would hope
rather
so, but
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at I'm just looking at the running backs here. That you could have Ramondre Stevenson, you could have picked up at any time. Tony Pollard, I'd rather have. Devontae Freeman, McKissick, Ty Johnson, even Deontay Foreman, who's just recently been like all these guys I would rather have. Whoever the running back is in San Francisco, Elijah Mitchell or Jeff Wilson. If Wilson might still be available if Mitchell doesn't go out there. I mean, there's so many guys that I'd rather have over these guys. So that you probably could have picked up at any time. So not all of those, but some of those.
yeah, and that's fair. I it hurts me a little bit because I was really hoping Moss. I thought he was gonna kind of take this job and run with it.
Yeah, I mean, back
Uh,
in week 2 to week 5, he was like,
he
yeah, this
did,
guy's,
yeah,
and then just it's kind of not really developed beyond that.
yeah. And so the other side of that ball, the Saints. Simeon had another good week. That is a 4 and a 6 the last couple weeks. So nice from
A lot of
him.
garbage time stuff, but yeah,
Yeah, a lot of
that's
garbage time, but hey, last time I checked, those points still count. So I will take it. And then Ingram hit that top 15 in his second week. He's proven that when he's the guy there, you can absolutely start him. And even the one week he played with Kamara, I think there's a lot of leagues where even when Kamara comes back, he's not like a top end. You're excited about running back, but he's probably starting in a lot of leagues even with Kamara when he comes back.
yeah. I mean, again, he's in that flex consider. I mean, he's with a bunch of other guys, but if
Yeah, yeah. There's a
Kamara's
lot of them,
out,
but if
uh,
Kamara's out, he's a no brainer.
yeah, you're starting him most likely. I mean, you could have picked him up. Maybe he was available much of this year since he wasn't doing anything in Houston. you probably could have got him. So there's a chance that you could have two stud running backs or three stud running backs that maybe aren't starting him. But yeah, there's if you have him and Kamara's out, and I think from what I saw last that Kamara was still not practicing, but also Ingram was not practicing because he got banged up. So it's like I don't know. Tony Jones. I mean, we haven't seen him, but if both of these guys don't go, it's hard to get a starting running back in the NFL just sitting out there. So I don't hate Tony Jones as a play here if both of those guys are out. I think he's gonna have. I mean, they are committed to running the ball. I don't see why. I think he would have decent value. I think not. I mean, I'd like him over a lot of those. I mean, I'd probably have him maybe like top 25 ish. A lot of those guys in the flex consideration in that late 20s. I think this is somebody you could just pick off waivers, so I don't think it's too bad. But that's assuming both these guys don't go, and as of now, we just don't know. But
Yeah.
if
Yeah, I think
Kamara
that's
doesn't
it.
go, Ingram's probably a top five. Kamara's a top five guy or top 15. Ingram's a top 15. Kamara's probably at borderline top five, and Tony Jones is probably a top 25. I kind of like drop it 10 spots for all but
Yeah.
they
I
all
think
are.
Jones is a huge risk. We just don't know what we're getting. But I think, yeah, if neither one of them play, you have to think about him in that. If you're already in the 25 to 30 running back range, you're already taking chances. So I think Jones there isn't a terrible idea. But I get I don't know. It's just a feeling I have that either Kamara I think Ingram will go. I think Kamara might sit, but I think Ingram will go.
Yeah, I think the last I see, neither one of them has been practicing.
Yeah, they
So
didn't
when they play
practice.
on Thursday, that's concerning when they're a couple days before they're not practicing.
I'm going to choose to look at it as they want to make sure they're rested for Thursday. That's how I'm choosing to look at it. Whether that is true or not, I have no idea. But all right, so let's get to Sunday. Steelers Bengals first up. We talked about it. Roethlisberger had a top 10 day, first one of the year. So good for him. Uh, Still not a guy unless you're in a deep league that you're considering. Harris just outside the top 10. Not a whole lot of those he's had this season. So um, if you're a
Yeah, he's a
Harris owner, you're like,
stud.
oh man, he didn't give me a top 10. Calm down. Like he's been a stud. Congratulations. Uh, Johnson had a great day. Continues to be a stud. Claypool kind of performs right where you almost expect him to, maybe a little bit higher than he's been doing. But I don't think this changes his value at all. I think he's right there in that kind of 25 to 30, closer to 30 probably range.
Yeah, this one is like so. Like I'm wondering like if you have like Claypool and Mooney, because to me like Claypool, this is the when you said Sanders. This is kind of the guy that I would say is I feel like is this could one be a legitimate conversation. Like they could have both these
Yeah.
guys and decide. That was really hard for me. I think I probably rock with Mooney. I think there's
I'm an upside guy, so I
yeah,
probably
we
would.
just like what's the guy maybe give us 30 points,
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson seems like he's going to get his. This is the best day Ben's had. So with 3 touchdowns, I don't really expect this is the over under is at 45. This doesn't seem like it's going to be a high scoring game. I think Cincinnati's going to want to run the ball. Mixon's been playing really well.
Yeah,
So
Mixon's on fire.
obviously Harris has been great as well. So this could be a run first on both sides. So I don't think this. I kind of like Mooney in that spot. I would have Mooney a couple spots ahead of him, but I could see why you could. I mean, 5 for 93. I like Claypool as a talent. I could see the argument there. I think they're very close, but obviously Deontay Johnson is a stud,
Yeah.
and Claypool is a pretty about where you drafted him. That's kind of where he's ranked. I mean, unfortunately, it's not any better. It's just even with Juju going down, it's definitely been a disappointing year. I would say for Claypool, given that he is like clearly the number 2 guy, and he's still kind of like where you drafted him. So I think if you knew Juju was going to go down, which obviously you can't know that, Claypool would have been drafted much higher.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even for me personally, like I didn't really want much of the Steelers wide receivers going in, but if you would have told me that they were cut down to two, they both I think would have gotten pretty big jumps. So I think that's fair. On the Bengals side, Burrow has like another 20s game. That's a couple in a row on either side of the bye. He's kind of worked his way into that deep league. He had a few weeks where you're like, oh man, he could be something even in a normal league, but he's kind of worked his way back into that deep league consideration. Mixon is a stud. Higgins had a bad day. I'm not super worried about him. I think he is what he is, kind of in the 20s somewhere is where he's going to be most weeks. Uh, Jamar Chase didn't have a Jamar Chase day, but still had a decent game. Got in the end zone, which helps because he only had 32 yards. Like if he didn't get in the end zone, another pretty poor performance. So, but as we've noticed throughout the season, he missed a couple weeks in there lately, but he's been getting in the end zone pretty much always. But I think Higgins, Chase, Mixon, you're still starting all three of those, and I mean Chase and Mixon in every league, and then Higgins I think in most leagues.
Yeah, Higgins another. Yeah, that one I don't know. I'm not sure, but for sure, obviously Chase and even
I
with
like
this.
Higgins more than like all these other guys we've been talking about where we're kind of on the edge. I like Higgins more than all those. So
Yeah, I was trying to see where because yeah, Boyd at the. Yeah, I was gonna say. Hey, I feel like that's about where he's at. Yeah, he's a borderline top 20 guy. I think
yeah,
Higgins and Gallup would be an interesting one. They have Gallup actually ranked below. I think I would put Gallup over Higgins, just number one guy. I'm like upside
yeah, with
again.
nobody else playing this week,
But
absolutely.
they have actually Higgins ranked higher. They're pretty high on Higgins, I think here. But yeah, so that again, that could be a maybe you have that decision. I'd probably go Gallup over Higgins,
I'm
but
going Gallup this
Higgins,
week for
but
sure.
Higgins I really like as well. But yeah, this was a blowout. Cincinnati, I said last week. I might even put it at the beginning of the episode. I said this is my lock of the week. It was basically a coin flip. Cincinnati over Vegas. I said I don't think Vegas is good. Cincinnati, this is like the easiest game. One of the easiest predictions I've ever had. I'm like, they are going to win this game. End up obviously easily taking care of business. Mixon, this was a 30 rush game for Mixon. So Burrow only threw for 150 yards. There's not a whole lot of value at wide receiver when that happens.
Yeah,
So I think if you were playing, don't look too much into this game because this was because of how it played out.
blowout
But
Mixon show. Yeah,
I do think this game could also be kind of a similar sort of feel. So take that for what it is. I still think you're not sitting Chase. You're obviously playing Mixon, and I don't think you're playing Burrow in this game. I don't really.
no,
I think
I think
unless
both teams are going to try to run the crap
yeah.
out of the ball.
And Higgins is a nice play. I think a pretty good play, right in there, like borderline top 20. I'd probably say maybe closer to 25, but right
Yeah,
there.
somewhere in that 20 to 25 range, I think. Next up, we have Panthers and Dolphins. Uh, Cam Newton, great week. Ended up number 4. Super high for him. Looks like a guy that if you've been playing the QB carousel, maybe you rock with him and think he keeps it up. They obviously it's working pretty well for him. 17 week 10, not bad for your first week back with the team. And then number 4 this week, McCaffrey, right where you expect McCaffrey to be, sitting there at 3. Um, honestly, probably a top 2 week most week, like maybe even one most weeks. Just crazy performances this week. At the top, Moore's still a stud. I mean, it's McCaffrey, it's more for sure. And then if you've been playing that QB guessing game, I think there's worse choices you can make right now than Cam Newton.
Yeah, I think Cam. Last week he was just kind of kind of just a few plays, and he had a couple touchdowns. That's why he was actually
Yeah,
not really playing much, and he still was 17. And this week, I mean, again, the rushing, he had that long rushing touchdown in this game.
it
So he
makes
still
such a
got that.
difference.
I mean, I think he might be a top 10 quarterback, honestly, and that's crazy because he was just picked up. But I look at the guys: Lamar, Allen, Brady, Hurts, Prescott, Herbert, Rodgers, Stafford. There's 8 guys that I think are for sure ahead of him. But then you get to Russell Wilson. I don't know. He hasn't been really looking too good. Kirk Cousins. You love yourself some Kirk Cousins, but then
I
you have
do, but
Joe Burrow
yeah, I
and
will
stuff.
say
So
I
he's
love Kirk Cousins, but the upside of Newton is huge.
going against San Francisco as well for Cousins. So uh, at Miami here. Miami is on a 3-game win streak. They were 1-7. They beat Houston, and they beat Baltimore. I think that was on a Thursday night. They did just play the Jets. Not exactly the most, 2 of the 3, not exactly the most biggest powerhouses, but still 3-game win streak for a team that was 1-7.
Yeah,
Miami. I'm not saying that this is easy matchup, obviously for Cam Newton, but I think he's top 10. I probably put Cousins ahead of him, but I'd still put Russell over him. I think he's around quarterback 10. So I think there's a good chance you are starting him. If you picked him up last week, I mean, if you have him on your team, you probably picked
yeah.
him up because you're playing him. The only exception would be if you are in my spot and I had Matthew Stafford on bye, so I picked him up. I think I'm going to rock with Stafford. I don't think I'm going to go with Cam,
seems like a wise
but
decision.
Stafford's at Green Bay. You know, it's not exactly my favorite matchup, but I think it's not the best week for Stafford. But I still think I'm going to go with. I think it's a lot safer. That's why I'm going to go with Stafford.
Yeah, I
But
think
I would
that's
not
100% fair.
obviously be surprised if Cam outscores. I mean, Cam's got top one potential with how top two, three could
Yeah,
easily be.
one of the biggest upside threats at quarterback. Like the upside is just crazy. It always his whole career really is that's what it's been. The upside is insane. So and then like you said, got Miami on the other side to another top 15 week. I mean that's where he is. He's in the 10 to 15 range, depending on the matchup. Gaskin has a top 10 week. I think he's had a few of these. He definitely has this potential, but as we've seen, he also has the potential to really put up some duds. So yeah, I think you have to rock him because of the potential. He's a starter. You're rocking him week to week, but you know what you have at this point if you've been playing Gaskin. It's kind of hit or miss. And then Waddle has another nice week. Continues to kind of be in that discussion we've talked about.
Yeah, he's been really good. Basically going back to week 6. I mean, he was wide receiver 4 back then, so it's kind of an arbitrary number I picked. But 1860 in week 8, and week 10 he was
Yeah,
36. But he's every other week. So what? 4 of the last 6 weeks he's been top 18.
yeah,
I mean, he's been really good. Really happy where you would have drafted him. If you held, you wouldn't have probably played him in week 6. That's what stinks because he had a couple bad weeks,
yeah,
but he has been pretty solid. I think you could be pretty happy with that. Yeah, it's really just him, tight end
yeah.
Gasicki, Gaskin. If you've been rocking with him, he's solid. And Tua is like, yeah, that 16 team league is a starter, I think.
Oh yeah,
And 2 quarterback leagues, obviously, but 12 team league. It depends on how many teams have quarterback. Like he's probably a top 15 guy, so I mean you could easily be starting him in a 12 team league too. I mean, some teams carry 2 quarterbacks and just they have and that's the best available. So it could definitely be the case here.
yeah. Eagles Giants up next. Hertz continues to be a stud. Number 3 this week on the ground. He just adds so much value. Sanders back, not necessarily a fantastic day, but now that Sanders is back, in my opinion, the rest you don't really have to think about. We kind of talked about this, trying to figure out what they were going to do, but we always said we're really just trying to figure out what they're going to do until Sanders comes back. We knew he was going to be the guy. Um, and Sanders, I mean, he's not a top 10 guy, but I think he's going to be better than 30. I guess looking at the weak side, I shouldn't be super confident in that, but um, I think he's probably in that 20 to 25 range is where I kind of expect him to pan out. Uh, and then Devontae Smith, not a great week for him, but coming off 2 awesome weeks, still a guy that I feel reasonably confident in. He's going to play well the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's so tough with Smith because Goddard had a really solid game here, 5 for 62.
Yeah,
You'll take that from a tight end. But Jalen Hurts, when you're only throwing it 150 yards and you have Goddard, like, and the running backs maybe catch a little bit as well. There's not a whole lot left over. So it's tough to have value when the Eagles are a very run first team and Hurts runs a lot. They ran it 50 times in this game, only passed it 24. So some of those were scrambles by Hurts, but still, yeah, they run a lot. But
yeah,
Devontae Smith has been really good lately. Really good receiver. I've mentioned this before, but these rookie receivers, Devontae Smith,
yeah.
Jalen
The class
Waddle,
is
and
awesome.
Jamar Chase is ridiculous. Yeah, you definitely could be playing Devontae Smith if you have him. And Miles Sanders, I think, is borderline top 20. I think about what you said. I was looking at it. I think they had him at like 18, but I was looking at some guys below him, and I think I would have played him
Yeah,
over him. So I
I
think
think
he's
20 to
somewhere.
25.
I think
Yeah,
he's somewhere probably top 25. I'd say I'd probably have him at like 23 ish. So yeah, I was looking at Jalen Waddle 24, Devontae Smith. I'm guessing is 20. Yeah, about borderline top 20, which seems about right. So right in that Michael Gallup territory. That
yeah,
feels about right to me.
yeah. And Good Air is in that class of tight ends we always talk about, where he's up for consideration if you're streaming or if you're just If you got a couple of guys and you're going back and forth, it's just
I feel like if you've
nothing.
had him like for a while, you probably just rocking him anyway. Like
Yeah,
you're just like I've just that's I feel as good of him as anybody else. So if he's on your team, you probably just throwing him out there.
yeah, agreed. Um, Giants, it's Barkley. Like I got nothing else. Like if we've talked about it, if Shepard plays, but that's such an if every week. I mean he's missed what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks already.
At least, yeah, and he's probably not even
Yeah.
played a lot of like yeah, it's
So if he plays, I think he has some value. But it's really Barkley and then Barkley or Booker. Like if Barkley goes down, because that's always a question. I'll say this: Barkley or Booker, whoever's starting, and then really nobody else on this team.
yeah, I think that's fair. Kadarius Toney had 12 targets, but I still think I have been low on him all. I feel like I don't think it's not because he's not talented, but this offense is it's just not good. And I would say he's probably not even in the top 35. There's probably 35 receivers I'd rather have over him. Even than him being the number one wide receiver on the team, I would say, yeah, it's still even with a couple teams on bye, I don't even know if he'll be top 35. So uh, somewhere in the top 40ish, but you probably have better options unless you're in a deep league.
Yeah, I very much hope you have better options because I don't want any part of that. And then Titans. They're playing Titans. I'm like, who are they playing? Uh, or no, I just got confused for a second. Panthers,
Titans,
Dolphins.
the
Titans are playing the Patriots. That's right. Yeah, leave it in. Who cares? Um, and then sorry, yes. So the Titans are playing the Patriots. Uh, Tannehill is where Tannehill has been. You don't want to start him. I'm starting him in Dynasty this week because you have to pay for transactions, and Patrick Mahomes is on bye, and my team's already terrible in that league anyway, so I'm going for a high pick. But yeah, you don't want to start Tannehill unless you have to. Hillard had a crazy good game at running back. A lot of that was receiving. He had 8 catches receiving. Is most of that. He only had 7 runs. So um, I think you're probably just avoiding the running back situation. I
yeah,
probably.
yeah, this is tough. Like this was a weird game. The Houston defense played really well. Tannehill was really bad through 4 picks, and I felt like they were passing a lot. Obviously, 52 times. So I think that's why Hillard had such a good
Yeah.
day. Going into New England, I know New England's a big favorite here. I mean, it's crazy how 1 week and 6.5 points. I would say I haven't found a game that I really like this week. Tennessee plus 6.5 might be the game that I like. That seems like a little bit for an 8-3 team. I know they had a bad week, but everybody has bad weeks. New England's been good as well. But I think Tennessee might try to get back to running the ball. I think Foreman, Peterson got waived, so you don't have to worry about Peterson if you're a Foreman owner, if you picked him up. I would like to start someone other than Foreman. I think he's probably in that top 30 ish, but
Yeah.
I
That's
think
fine.
Foreman I would not be surprised if Foreman has close to 20 carries in this game. He only had 7 in this game. And Hillard, I don't see how you possibly start him. This was a game where he saw 60% of snaps. Maybe this is a thing, but when their team doesn't want to pass it 52 times, they don't want to do that. So I think it's obviously AJ Brown. I know he was banged up a little bit, but if he's there
He
and
looks like he's good to go. Yeah.
really no one else.
Yeah.
Foreman in a deeper league, or maybe it could doesn't necessarily have to be a deeper league, but you hopefully have better options. He's probably like a top 30 guy, and Tannehill is what he's been, and I don't think you want to play him probably.
Not unless
Uh,
you want an early draft pick in a dynasty
yeah,
league.
unless you're trying to not try to spend money or whatever on transaction fees, and maybe
I'm
you
not
rock him.
throwing games. I'm putting a legitimate lineup. I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm just not trying really hard. There's a difference. Um, Patriots side, Patriots obviously have taken a decent turn in the right direction. Mac Jones, 18. I still like. I know he's had a couple of really good weeks. I am positive on the future of him. He looks really good, NFL wise. But fantasy, I still don't think he's super relevant. Um, Harris and Stevenson both had kind of almost the same days, 24 and 27. So it looks to continue to kind of be. You're gonna have to kind of make a call between them. I know you're bigger, you're higher on Harris than I am, but I think you're just kind of. This is probably what you're getting out of the two of them. Maybe I don't
Yeah.
even know.
I think they're both borderline like top 30, top maybe even close
Yeah,
to top 25. So you're kind of in that situation where I will say like something like I don't want to say that because Steven, I was gonna say certain guys have upside, but they've both shown that they could go off any week. So you
yeah,
just
they
never
both got
know.
upside.
So like they do have upside, but they could also. I mean, Stevenson's had 3 straight weeks of top 24. I mean, this was the worst week he's had, but Stevenson's obviously involved. But he only had 34% of snap. Damian Harris 39%. Brandon Bolden 27%. So it's like you're not getting a ton of work
Thanks,
out there.
Belichick.
So you're really reliant on touchdowns. They didn't get them this week when they were still okay, but if they have touchdowns and who is actually out there when that happens. So yeah, like Bolden or sometimes another random guy will show up, like JJ Taylor, I think it was one week. So had a couple touchdowns. So yeah, I don't know, but I think they're both borderline top 25, and they've shown that they've had upside. So, uh, I guess you probably roll them out there if you're in that spot where you're kind of like not sure. If you don't have anybody better, then I would say they're both about top 25, and flip a coin on which one you like more because I don't know.
Yeah, that's always a great place to be. Just flip a coin, figure it out. One of them, it'll be fine. Falcons, Jags up next. Matt Ryan, not relevant. Cordero looks to be back. I guess he was pretty close to playing last Thursday, which surprises me. But pretty close last Thursday. Seems like Sunday's going to be pretty much a no-brainer. He'll be good to go immediately. He's starting. Uh, Wide receivers continue to be, in my opinion, irrelevant. And I still think you're rolling Pitts out there. I think the upside is too big, and he's been fairly solid. I mean, he's had a couple bad weeks the last handful, but I think the upside is just too big. There's just nowhere other than Cordero. There's nowhere else for Matt Ryan to throw the football.
Yeah, Matt Ryan had a really bad week. Not great week. Really bad week. We can say bad week. It was not good.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't have to
The
be
only
kind. He doesn't watch.
we don't know.
I
Oh,
do know.
okay.
I've
Yeah,
talked to
Cordell
him. He's not a
Patterson.
fan.
You're definitely starting. I think pretty much
Yeah.
pretty much every league. I don't want to say every league because you never know. But
If
top
not, I'd like
top
to see a roster
15
because
guy.
awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, Russell Gage, I guess, would be the deep league guy. He had 8 targets. I mean, if you're
It'd have to be very deep.
stop shaking. There's leagues that have a 16
How
team
deep?
leagues. 16 team league. I think there's a chance you would be playing him. I
How-
don't know. I don't know what all these teams look like. Okay. I don't actually
16
play in a 16 team league, so I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
That
But
is,
I would
yeah.
say Russell Gage is a 16 team league is a top 50 receiver. All right. Can you give me that? Top 50. So if he's
I
top
can
50,
barely give you that. I can
then
barely give you that.
he could be playing. All right, it's Kyle Pitts. I don't, you sounded down on it. 3 for 29. Obviously not a great day, but he's still top. He's number 8 on the year. I mean,
No, that's what I said.
You're just gonna
I
pick
said
up a random
okay.
tight end like what? Just sitting on the waiver? Like, oh my goodness, why is Travis Kelsey out here? Oh, because he has a bye week. One, you probably don't play Travis Kelsey this week. He's on bye, but if
Maybe
Travis
still.
Kelsey is on, if somebody drops him, I would recommend picking him up.
You know what? Usually I just let you make fun of me because usually I am wrong. I'm going to defend myself because what I said was the last handful of weeks have not been the greatest. 35, 19, 12 is pretty good. 25, you can admit, not the greatest weeks.
Week 7, he was number 2. I mean,
I understand that. That's not a handful. 4 is a handful. I've always said that. I definitely
5?
didn't just make that up. Nope, 4 is a handful. So what I said is true. But yes, I also said you're still absolutely starting Pitts. So I don't know why that's where you decided to get on me.
Okay. But I will
You
say
said Jared Goff is worse than every backup in the NFL,
which
and you're going to get on me about Pitts?
I mean, obviously that was a little bit of exaggeration. He's just really bad. One thing I will say is Mike Davis. If you own Mike Davis, I think you can
Don't?
drop him.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's maybe even technically number 1 on the roster, I don't know how they depth chart with.
I don't know how they classify.
But like
Cordero,
Mike Davis, it doesn't. He saw 50% of snaps. It doesn't matter. It does. This is one guy. Like it does. Just don't own him. All right. Let somebody else have him. There's no reason to have him. he's no longer can give you top 30 work like he did in the beginning of the year. Just move on. It's time to move on. Give that spot to somebody else. I don't even know at this point in the year if you, but do it with give it to somebody else.
Yeah, because here's the thing. This was his best chance. And granted, they didn't play very well, but this was his best chance to really have a week with Cordero out, and he didn't. So,
And Quadri Allison, I'm saying, looked like that was the guy who they like to run. So that tells you
yeah.
where they're at.
Yep. All right. Jags, the vaunted Jacksonville Jaguars, who we've tried so hard to like.
I tried to adopt them almost.
You really did. You even had me on a little bit. I'm like, all right, you know what? I think there might be something to this. It's Robinson and maybe Arnold.
Yeah, and Arnold, yeah, I was gonna say he definitely did play 65% of snaps and had nothing, zero.
Yeah.
So you don't love that. Obviously
Yeah.
Robinson, Marvin Jones, I like him over somebody like Russell Gage.
Oh, but
He's like,
Arnold was 7-13-2. You can't say that.
what am I saying? I'm just saying
You
coming off of
you seem pretty down on Arnold. I don't know why you're so down on Arnold.
okay. Hold on. Let me just point this out. Would you rather have Dan
Why
Arnold
do people watch this?
or Kyle Pitts as your tight end right
That's
now?
I understand that. Kyle
This
Pitts
is not
significantly.
Kyle Pitts is a top 5 tight end. Dan Arnold is maybe not even a top 15. I'm just saying it's a pretty big disparity. He has been in the past few weeks, but you are not expecting Dan Arnold to be a top 5 tight end. Okay.
Well, maybe
Anyways,
people are because you told them Trevor Lawrence was the second coming,
um,
and that does not appear to be
yeah,
true.
Dan Arnold is even after. I mean,
No,
he's
I know
one of
what you're
those
saying.
guys. Like you throw him out there if he's just one of those another one of those tight ends kind of all in the mix. But yeah, Marvin Jones is probably a top 40 guy, so I like him more than say Russell Gage. But I mean, again, it would have to be a deep league sort of play there.
Yeah.
This has been really this is one of my worst. I don't want to say it's one of my worst takes. I'm so sad because I really wanted this to work with Trevor Lawrence. I'm like, the schedule is good. This is going to
Yeah.
happen. I'm pretty high on Trevor Lawrence for the rest of the season. I think he's going to be good, and it's just not working.
No.
I'm sorry.
He should be. I haven't made any poor calls. I definitely didn't go fairly hard on Robert Tonyan at the beginning of the season. Buccaneers Colts. Tom Brady's good at football. Leonard Fournette has another like 15-ish game, kind of where he's been all season. He's had obviously much higher, but this is what you've expected from at this point. The wide receivers continue to be must starts. Literally, of the 3 wide receivers, if any of them play, you have to start them. And Gronk came back, and good to see him. Good to see him back. Had a nice top 10 day right away. I think immediately, assuming he continues to stay healthy, is a guy that if you've got him, you got to pencil him in unless you have one of the studs.
Yeah, like I was looking, he's ranked around 10, 11-ish, but like I feel like it's one of those guys that some of the guys that are ranked ahead of him, you're like, yeah, they'll probably score more points, but just the upside in this
Yeah.
offense, like you probably aren't carrying. You're not going to carry a guy who's like tight end 10 and tight end 12. Like just carry one of them, whichever one. So if you have Gronk, you're probably not even worrying about it. Having another guy in that you're using that roster spot somewhere else. So you're throwing Gronk out there, and assuming he plays, I know you never know because I know he's banged up and older, but yeah, he's still every time. I mean,
I still think they're just taking it so like cautious with him because they want him for the playoffs. Like I think that's what's happening is they're just so cautious with him.
But yeah, Godwin and Evans have basically scored the same number of points this year. Both wide receiver 9 I have them as, so they're both around like the same exact point total on a points per game basis. Yeah, they're both studs, and Antonio Brown I don't think is playing, but when he does,
when he does.
And Brady, I know, but he's just incredible. I still don't understand how he's quarterback 2 on the season, and he's like 0.1 point per game behind number 1 Lamar Jackson. So it's like it's not even.
He could easily be
he's
one,
basically one, and these top 4 change every week. Brady's been 1, he's been 3, he's been moving around, but he's I mean, easily if he outscores Lamar this week, he's probably number 1 again. So yeah, he's.
I mean, you're the math guy. I'm going to trust you on that, but 0.1 point doesn't seem like that much to
point per
overtake. So I'm
game,
gonna.
so it could be is per game. So they play,
I
it
know.
could, but also there's guys below him, like number 3, number 4, that
I
could
know. Well,
pass him
and
as well.
Herbert's right there. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Uh, on the other side of the ball, the Colts. I mean, it was the Jonathan Taylor show. Like the rest of the team did not perform well, but that's because Jonathan Taylor was not human in this game. 185 yards, carried the ball 32 times. Also had 3 catches for another touchdown, 5 total touchdowns. I mean, the guy was a stud. He's been great all year. What's crazy is he's been great all year. And how many games? Uh, how many games has Henry been out? Like 3 or 4 now.
But it's a points per game basis. I don't know if that's where you're going with this. So it's not a
Oh, okay.
total
But
points.
no, but I think even overall it's still
I don't
crazy.
think so, because
Maybe that was pre last
yeah,
week.
because right now I was gonna say that Derrick Henry he's very like Jonathan Taylor. You know how crazy he was. Jonathan Taylor is just points per game, just under Derrick Henry now. So it is super close. Now, obviously, Derrick Henry was insane. Jonathan Taylor has been the new Derrick Henry. That is what he's
No.
been. Obviously, this game kind of sways it a little bit. He's basically caught up to Derrick Henry. He's at his level. Past since week 4. I mean, we say this every week. He's been a top 8 running back. This is literally insane every
Yeah.
single week. The only negative part of Jonathan Taylor is not really his. They haven't had their bye yet, so you're gonna have to sit him here, but not this week. But that's
You
the
heard
only
it
thing.
here. Butler wants you to trade Jonathan Taylor.
Week 13, I think I'm assuming is your bye is coming up, so that is the downside.
On the good
Obviously,
side is if you have Jonathan Taylor, you're probably in a pretty good position record wise. So you'll
Michael
be okay.
Pittman 2 for 23 and not happy, but he's still a
Yeah.
top 15 guy. He's an absolute stud.
What do you
When
want him to do? If Taylor won't give the ball up,
Yeah,
what do you
they
want?
just ran the ball every play. They just absolutely destroyed Buffalo, which I don't think anybody saw. Buffalo just getting ran over. Wentz 11 of 20 in this game, 100 yards. Like you can't really have much value and the one touchdown he threw went to Jonathan Taylor. So Jonathan Taylor just said, "I got this." He went ahead and just took everything. So I still like Pittman though. I think he's a top
Oh yeah,
15 guy, and I don't see
I'm
you sitting
putting
him.
no stock in this game.
Yeah.
Like no stock at all. Next one we got a battle of powerhouses. Just all this talent. Jets Texans. Is this like the first game where it's going to be like a combined 2 players that we really care about?
We'll see. I mean, Flacco is in COVID protocol with one of the other quarterbacks. I don't remember who. Uh, Mike White, I think, was tested positive for COVID. Joe Flacco was a close contact, so he is out. And then obviously Mike White is out, and Zach Wilson, I believe, is back, so he's going to be the starter, I think. And Josh Johnson has been called back up, and the practice squad will be backing him up. I think that's what I saw. I
It
don't
is. It's Flacco and White.
are both out. So
Uh,
yeah.
are
So
both.
Zach Wilson will be back. Not sure how I feel about that. The offense seems like it's been kind of a lot better since Zach Wilson's been out. But yeah, Zach Wilson will be back as a starter. Hopefully he does well, get his job back. Yeah, Michael Carter's out in this game, so Ty Johnson, you may want to roll him out
Matt
there.
Johnson has some nice upside.
Yeah, he's had some good weeks. As him and Michael Carter caught so many passes. Zach Wilson was the quarterback when Ty Johnson had a lot of big weeks, so a lot of good days. So it could happen. Back in week 7, he was running back 21. Week 8, number 9, when Michael Carter was running back 1, he was number 9. So like they dumped off their running back so much with Zach Wilson especially. So I do think he's kind of interesting. We don't. The only nervous part is Tevin Coleman had more. Like we're not sure if they maybe changed their tune on him a little bit. Maybe Coleman gets a
Well,
little
I think I
more.
said this yesterday. I think rushing wise, they'll be pretty much even in chances. I just like Ty Johnson's upside in the passing game.
And Elijah Moore, I'm just gonna say this. I even with Zach Wilson going, I mean, high upside guy. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
he is another. He's a rookie, I believe. Another one. Like what? This is insane. I think he's borderline top 25. I mean, he's well. I mean, look, last 4 weeks, even 5 weeks, it was bad, but 26, number 1, number 25, and then number 3 this week. I mean, Yeah, he's been really good. So I think if you have Elijah Moore, as weird as this said, because we weren't saying this a few weeks ago, I think
I
you're
will
maybe
say,
rolling him
do you
out
also
there.
notice what correlates to those last 4 weeks? What what was not filled in those last
Yeah,
4
that's
weeks?
true.
It was
That's true.
Wilson playing.
That's true.
Um,
Maybe he's a little bit lower this week, but I still think there's a shot you're playing him just because he's been
there's a
so.
shot, but I think honestly him and Corey Davis both take a pretty big hit with Wilson,
I see.
playing.
I'm kind of like I think any whoever's quarter. I think the Jets maybe scheme wise and all that. I think they've probably because I don't think Joe Flacco or Mike White or Josh Johnson when he came are somehow a much better quarterback than Zach Wilson. You and I, you might disagree with that. I think they may have just their the play calling that I think they've just opened up the offense a little more. I think that this Zach Wilson will be better than what we've seen before. We'll see
I hope you're right, is what I'll
that.
say. I don't I don't think so, but I hope you're right. On the Texans side of the ball, um,
For not really anything important on that team, we spent more time on the Jets than I think.
I know we did spend a decent amount of time. I will say I kind of forgot that like Corey Davis was on the fringe, like that. You could be thinking about it. Uh, Cooks had a very bad week. I'm still I'm still rocking with Cooks if I've got him on my team. The upside's there. He's been very solid pretty much all season. He has some bad weeks, but he's been pretty solid all season. Um, Tyrod's Tyrod uh, is going to
Rod.
be. I know it is, but I also have called him Tyrod for so long that my brain goes there automatically. Um, he's in that discussion if you're streaming quarterbacks. Like I'll give him that, especially playing the Jets. I think if you're streaming, there's worse options, and there are a couple of quarterbacks on bye. You could definitely be filling in this week at quarterback.
Yeah, it's still. I think there's. I mean, again, it depends on who's available. Even in a 12-team league, he's probably somewhere around 15. So in that list of guys, if you want to try, that's
Yeah,
one of the decisions my wife and I have between. You have him and Tua and a few others, and we're kind of Heineke is in there and is like. There's not. I don't know. Like what kind. This is Tarod is kind of the guy we're leaning towards. I think, but it's all kind of close. So you could definitely think about it. His rushing again, that's what it was
upside.
but before as well. He has the rushing. That will, give him some upside. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. He had the one where the one of the best plays of the week where he ran it in and flipped into the end zone. So yeah, Texans 2-8. I don't remember the last time they were favored in a game. They're actually favored, obviously, it's against the Jets at home, but Texans are favored. I kind of hope, I know I was excited about them last week, and I was like saying this could. I hope they lose. I know that sounds like this.
Wow, you're one of those
Yeah.
guys.
I kind of want a better draft pick. I'm not gonna lie. So the Texans never have a first round pick. When's the last time? I don't know. I feel like we always trade away our
Are
picks.
you telling me that you're not super excited for Davis Mills to be your future?
No, I'm not. So, yeah. And you already mentioned Brandon Cooks. If you have him, you're rolling him out there,
Yeah.
top 20 guys. So David Johnson, stay away. I think, even though I think he's better days ahead, but I don't see. I mean, he's in that top 30 running backs, 35, but that's about the best I can say about that.
Yeah. All right. Chargers, Broncos. Chargers had a decent offensive showing. Eckler, like I said, Eckler's got to be like, what do I have to do to get number one? Like, what do you need from me? Um, so obviously a really nice day from him. Herbert, the number one quarterback. Um, Allen, right where he's been all season. At 14 wide receiver, Mike Williams, we talked about, had another big game. I mean, those four, three of those, Herbert, Eckler, Allen, are sure things. And then Williams is one of those guys that it's tough to bench him because of the upside, but it is a complete boomer bust.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of those guys. He is boomer bust that somebody like a Michael Gallup you could pick up, even Elijah Moore. There's certain guys that I think you could play over him, Jalen Waddle, and some even like Darnell Mooney. If you're like that's kind of like in the spot. I feel like they have a lot
Yeah.
of
My thing with Mooney is I feel like they're both boomer bust, and
yeah.
I'd rather take the boomer
Would you
bust
rather have the
Williams.
Chargers offense? Yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
I kind of put them next to each other though, but I think I agree with that. But yeah, he's somewhere around top 25 receiver, top 20, top 25. Just obviously when he's good, he's really good. Keenan Allen's a top 10 guy. He's been a stud the last 4 weeks, and yeah, nothing else. Cook, you probably I think he's kind of lower like he was in the mix. I thought of all those guys,
Yeah,
and
I
now
don't
I
think he
think
is
he's not
anymore.
really in that mix anymore. It's Herbert, it's Eckler, it's Allen. Those guys are all top. Well, Allen is probably like borderline. He is top 10, and then the other guys are obviously top two, top five. But and then Mike Williams somewhere 20 to 25, depending on how you. Again, another high upside
Huge
guy.
upside, also extraordinarily low floor.
Yeah.
So, on the Broncos side of the ball, not quite as exciting. Coming off a bye week, um, but going back to week 10, Fant had a decent day. He's in that. He's all year. He's kind of been in that ballpark, probably a little bit higher than that ballpark we talk about. Where you're, I feel like if you have Fant, you're probably not really thinking about tight end. You're just running him out there. He's kind of in that group. Um, I'm still not touching the wide receivers. If I had to, I guess I like Judy's upside, but that's about it. Um, Melvin Gordon is what he is. He's in the 20s at running back. Um, so if that's where you are, you know what you're getting out of him. But
Yeah, I mean Melvin and Javante Williams are. I mean they're a 50-50 split almost. Like it's Melvin got in the end zone. That was really the only difference in this in week 10. So yeah, I agree. I think it is Judy Sutton. Patrick is probably the
in that order, yeah,
Judy is still, even though he's number one, is probably borderline top 30, and then
yeah, yeah.
Sutton's right there too. He's a little below that. I like them both, but not in fantasy. I think they're both great receivers, but and then Patrick, I even think is a solid receiver. But he's number three option in his offense, so you probably can't
And
play him.
quarterback plays not.
Yeah, I mean we've talked like Teddy is just there's not that great a quarterback. So you might be playing them. Obviously, they're Sutton and Judy are both top 30 guys, or borderline with Sutton. So you could be playing them. That's kind of where they're at in that maybe Emmanuel Sanders territory. So you make that decision, or Corey Davis, sort of thing. So you'll have to make that decision based on what you feel. But I'd probably put Judy a little bit higher. I think he's. I
I
agree
like
with
the
that.
upside more than those two guys of
Yeah.
Judy. So
Would
I
you?
just
But
because of the way I like to play
Darnell Mooney. Would you rather play Darnell Mooney or Jerry Judy?
Judy.
You think that? I think they're very close. I'd probably go
I think they're
Mooney there.
close, but
I think
I
Mooney
really
just
like
has a
Judy's
lot more
upside.
boom. You think? See, I was thinking Mooney because he's the only guy. Judy,
That's
there's.
fair. I don't know. I think I like Judy's talent, and I think that gives him a little bit more upside. But I think they're very close. I think that's a personal preference thing. Like I wouldn't go to like war for either one of those two guys over the other. But I think that's a personal preference thing. Vikings Niners. Vikings, super easy to talk about them. Cousins, you're good chance you're rocking with him if you have him. I've been on him all year as I think a super solid. I think I had him at number 8 when we did it 5 weeks ago. Really like Kirk Cousins. Cook is obviously a stud. Jefferson, Thielen, you're starting no matter what. Awesome guy, but both. I would say both maybe top 10. Jefferson for sure, and then Thielen at least in the discussion. Um, and that's just kind of what Conklin's in that group where if you need a tight end, you could maybe put him in there. I wouldn't, but you could.
Yeah, I don't think Thielen's top 10 because I want. I mean, I know we always say like if you start listing them out, like you realize,
Yeah, you're
but
probably right.
I think he's more top 15. I think if there's like 9 or 10 guys that you go through and you're like those are obvious ones. But Cooper Cup, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Debo Samuel, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson is 10. And then I think all those. And then DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, wherever. So he's somewhere, I think, that next
I
tier,
would.
maybe.
I'll just say I was following those names. Of those names, I put him at 12.
Yeah,
Like I'd
so
put Pittman after the top 10 that I think are correct. I'd put Pittman at 11, and then
disrespect on Terry McLaurin is just ridiculous. But okay.
yeah, yeah, I
Anyways,
do.
but yeah, Jefferson,
Come at me,
Thielen.
Terry
You
McLaurin.
can't play Osborne.
As much
I
as
don't.
we'd like him to
I
be
don't think you could
worthwhile, he's
even do it
not.
in a third deep league because he just doesn't. He's not on the field enough. It's a team that
Too many
doesn't.
mouths.
He's only 50% of the snaps, and yeah, you have Cook is obviously the guy, and Jefferson and Thielen are going to get most of the targets. So
Yep. On the Niners side, pretty easy. Samuel, for sure. Kittle, for sure. And in my opinion, whoever plays running back, whether that's Elijah Mitchell, or it looks like Wilson if it's not Mitchell. I think both of those are pretty solid plays, assuming you know which one it's going to be, which you will.
Yeah, I think top 20, top 25 ish for Mitchell, and Jeff Wilson's a little bit lower than that if
Couple
Mitchell's
spots
out.
back, but not crazy.
Yeah, I don't think Wilson or Sermon for that matter. I mean, they both got a lot of were really impressive in this game. So I think like a Mitchell, if he's healthy, he's got his spot is still there. It's
Oh
not like
yeah,
yeah, they're like
no
okay.
question on that.
But Sermon, it was nice to see him out there a little bit. He got 35% of snaps, but Jeff Wilson was the main guy here, 19 carries. Sermon had 10 though. But yeah, Kittle, nice, just nice. You know, I'm so happy he's back. Kittle's continues to be Kittle. I will say Aiyuk. I mean,
Great day.
2 of the last 3 weeks he's been really good. It's nice to see him, and I think he's in that conversation again in that Jerry Judy top 30-ish guys who have tremendous upside, but
Yeah,
definitely some risk because Debo is the guy, number
yeah,
one, and they're a run heavy team too. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo only threw it 20 times, so they want to run, and the number one receiver is not him, it's Debo. So it's like, but because he's so talented, I do think he has crazy high upside, and you see that this week with wide receiver 8.
yeah. Agreed. I think I think just because there is a clear cut number one, I like the upside of some of those other guys more. Like Judy, I like him a little bit more just because he is, in my opinion, the number one choice and all that good stuff. So I, but yeah, he's in that conversation for sure. Next up, we got Rams Packers. Should be a pretty good game. Looking forward to it. Stafford is still, I mean, you talked about it. We talked about how excited we are about Cam doing well, but you're still like not even really considering benching Stafford for him. So Stafford's a surefire. Henderson is has had a couple bad weeks in a row, but still a guy you're rocking with without hesitation. Cup is the greatest wide receiver of 2021 without question. I was gonna say of all time, but that felt insane. Like I'll say a lot of crazy things, but let's calm down.
He's what I would call sneaky
Every time. And then I after Woods went down and the numbers kind of bear this out, and he was in this ballpark anyways. Higbee's one of those you could. He's in that group. Like if you want to roll with him, you can, but
He's a guy
he's not
who
a
will be
stud.
rocking. He was actually available because somebody dropped him. Kelsey's on by, so I'm
Yeah.
decently happy he was running Higby. And this, he's always on the field. That's always the thing. This is a
Yeah.
team that runs. We've talked about this a lot. 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back. And you can see the personnel. Like there's like 5 people. Like that's basically it. They don't really sub out really much. In this previous game, Odell only played 27% of snaps. Skowronek
Yeah.
was the
And that'll
guy.
change.
We think. I mean, again, we don't. I don't. Like Odell. I mean, I don't
I don't
know.
I don't want to play Odell, but it'll change. That he'll be the number two, I
See,
think, in
here's the
time.
thing. What I was saying originally is I don't know if Odell is the third best receiver on the team. That's when Woods was there. Now the second best with Woods. Van Jefferson is a guy. It seems like they like. He was on the. Obviously, he's going to get most of the snaps. I think Van Jefferson is not going to be off the field. I still think Odell. I would not be surprised if Odell his snap count will go up, but I don't know if it will be close to 100% like the Van Jefferson and Cooper Cup. They they might still be working him in. I don't know. We'll see. So Odell's a super risky play. I don't see you probably playing him.
Yeah, I'm not.
Uh,
No way.
Probably not even a top 40, probably in the top 50 somewhere. But Van Jefferson, it's really just Cooper Cup. Van Jefferson, another I guess high upside guy, could be close to 30, 35, but I don't even love that because I
It's
don't love
30,
the matchup
35,
here.
40. Yeah.
I don't love the matchup here. I don't think this is going to be some high scoring Rams offense. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I got Stafford. I hope I'm wrong. I did have Woods too. Sad, but I think this will be a really good game. I just don't know how explosive the offense will be in Green Bay, but we'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of Green Bay, nice transition. Rogers number 2 on the week. Really nice week, obviously. Nice to see too, because week 8 he was 14, week 10 he was 18, week 9 he obviously didn't play. He was out for protocol, so good to see him back in in the upper echelons. Dylan, number 13. I think a guy, if you've got him, as long as Jones is out, you're rocking him. You're good to go. Um, the guy I really want to talk about here, because I mean it gets pretty obvious. You're starting Rogers, you're starting Dylan, you're starting Adams. Valdez Scantling had a very nice game. Appears to be healthy. I want to see where you stand because I know where I stand on this. I don't know, where do you stand on Valdez Scantling?
Uh,
Fluke.
I think it's complete fluke. Even though at 10
Okay.
targets, there is probably at least 40 receivers, I would say, maybe even more, that I would start over him. So
Okay. I was hoping we'd have a discussion there, but I agree with you, so I can't. Um, so I mean, yeah, the
he
Packers
had
are
a
pretty obvious.
75-yard catch in this game,
I know.
which
I
was
was
that
hoping there'd be
late
some. I was
catch.
hoping you were a little
Uh,
excited. I was hoping you were wrong, and I
but
could prove it.
yeah, but yeah, Rogers looked insane. I
Yeah.
mean, Kirk Cousins had a great day. He did have that pick at the end that was overturned, but like that was like a Kirk Cousins. He always has these weird, like he plays so well, and then he'll have one throw. It's like, what in the world? But wasn't a pick. They overturned it, and then he goes down because it's like you get that one. Kirk's gonna do that a lot of times in these big moments, but if it something like that, if you don't punish it, he's a really good quarterback. I think he's definitely underrated. He just the contract. That's always the reason nobody likes Kirk. I know this is a Aaron Rodgers thing,
Yeah.
but nobody because he got paid so much. So it's like
Yeah.
it's hard to say that he's as good as that
Which
contract.
I
But
never 100% understand. Like, I get if you're a Minnesota fan because you feel it hurts your team, but like if you're just a football fan, it's not your money. What do you care? Um.
but anyway,
So
Rodgers was insane. He had an insane
yeah.
day, and I mean, he's very good.
Yeah. Next up, the Browns, and then as I used to call them to make my father angry, the real Browns. He did not enjoy that. He got very mad at me. But Browns Ravens. Up next is so Baker Mayfield is still, you're not playing him. We talked about it. He's got that injury. He should have just had surgery and called it. But um, Chubb is a stud. We kind of touched on this. Dearness Johnson. We thought maybe with Hunt out there'd be some value. It looks like unless that second running back is Hunt, there's really no value in the second one. So
Yeah, we found out that early on when
yeah, that's the thing.
earlier, and then we're like, yeah, you can't really play him this week. I mean, you can't feel good about
Yeah,
Dearness, and that
and we
continues
were
to be true.
correct.
They when Chubb is out there, he's going to be the guy.
I like to point out when we're right because I feel like we're pretty good about pointing out when we're wrong. So I like to every once in a while point out when we're right. The wide receiver situation, I guess if you're in a big pinch, and I'm talking a big pinch, you could throw Jarvis out there, but I really hope you have better options.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I was looking at the rankings here, and he's like 39 on here, but I don't even think I would have him there. Like I'm looking at the guys below him, Odell. I would rather go with Odell just because I feel like, I mean, I know former Brown, I didn't even purposely do that, but
I
I
think
feel
you
like there's
did.
just way more upside. I just feel like
I
Jarvis is
I
gonna
don't.
give you your. You don't think there's okay. I just feel like with the Rams, there's just not going to be any big touchdowns or anything from Jarvis. I think that could happen for the Rams, but I think Jarvis is 4 to 6 or 7 catches for 40 yards. That's kind of what he is.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't want to start him, but I would start him over Odell. I don't know what kind of league you'd be in where that was the only choice you had, but uh, all right. Next, other side, Ravens. I mean, the Ravens are, you're starting Jackson. I think. I mean, you're starting Hollywood. I think for the most part, he hasn't had. I don't know. Wait, is he out again this week, or did we
I
talked
think
about it
he's going to be
yesterday?
out. I think.
Okay, I'm trying to remember. I think he. I think you're right. Um, okay, so this week at least, you're starting Jackson. You're starting Andrews. Um, and I think in most leagues you're starting Freeman.
Yeah, I feel like Freeman's in that mid 20s ish, in that. So I mean,
I'd say 2025. I'd say upper 20s.
yeah, I'd probably put him
Um,
towards mid ish. I don't know about. I think there's I'm looking at Miles Gaskin, the starting running back for San Francisco. The New England guys, I'd probably put them both over them, and you probably wouldn't. So that's kind of like,
I wouldn't. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So I mean that you kind of with that's the thing. We get this late in the season. we hit these teams where like you know exactly what you're doing with these teams. Like I'd love to give you some hard hitting analysis and tell you something crazy,
But I
but
will say Rashad Bateman, if he is the number one guy, Lamar's pretty good. I'd say he's a pretty good quarterback. I do think Bateman is in that conversation as like a top 30 guy because I mean he's looked pretty solid. I mean since he's been available, he's been solid. So I think if you have not this previous week, but Huntley was the quarterback. I mean, kind of got to throw that away. Rashad Bateman as the number one receiver, I think. I mean, has high upside. Another high upside guy. A lot of these guys, I feel like around the 30 are like they could be a top 5, top 10 guy if things go right.
if things go right. I don't know. I don't think I
Obviously, if
believe
I
it,
thought they were
but
going to be top 5 or top 10, I would rank them. I'd be like, this is a
well, no,
guarantee.
I
I mean,
know. I yeah, I don't. I think you're much higher on him than I am. But
Sunday night
yeah, it's
football
all right.
game
We don't
was
have to.
Browns Ravens. I mean, that's a really good Sunday night football game. We got a really good one. So,
Should
uh,
be a decent game.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, wrapping it up. Seahawks and football team. The frustrates me more than anything else in the world. Pick a team. Uh, Seahawks. Russell Wilson. Are we've talked about this. I don't think Russell Wilson is any longer a you must start him for his upside.
Yeah, I wonder like what people would think. Like I mean, obviously like if you said Russell Wilson against Washington football team or Cam Newton, who just, got there against Miami, that's a conversation that people could have. They could have, picked
Oh,
up Cam.
easily.
And I I feel I'm probably
I'm
rocking
starting
Cam.
Cam. Yeah, I'm starting
I think
Cam.
Russell does have crazy high upside. I know he hasn't been great since coming back. I think at any week he's going to go off. And there's a good chance you don't have better options if you didn't get Cam. But I'd rather go Russell over the Derek Carrs and the Wentz and
I'd rather
Tua's
pick
and
go
stuff.
you over Derek Carr.
Thank you. That is such a high compliment. You always tell me when I'm like I could do this, and you're like, "Whoa, no!" But then now you're saying that you would take me over Derek Carr. Uh,
It was
I'll
more of
take
an
that.
insult to Derek Carr, but whatever, however you want to take it.
uh,
Uh, so yeah, it's weird because he's a name and you feel like you should be the upside's so high and it is, but I might need to see it for a week because I mean we're going back to week 4 when last time you were happy you started Russell. Granted, he missed 3 of those weeks, so that doesn't super count. But
but
like,
I will say, like, he could have a big day on your bench, but so could Cam Newton. It's not like
oh
if
yeah,
say you have those two, you're like, yeah, I just can't put him on my bench because he could go off. But like, is he more likely to go off than Cam Newton? I'm not even
no,
sure that's true. I don't know. So
he's
it's
got
like,
better wide receiving options, but other than that,
um, and obviously Moore, DJ Moore is an absolute stud over there in
well,
Carolina. So, but yeah, and with Lockett and Metcalf, I feel like even though I'm a lower because we don't know with, I don't think there's a chance you can get away from them. I think that there's just way too much talent for these two receivers that you just probably can't sit them. I think.
you'd have to be in a pretty good position, I think. Um,
I mean, of course, you could have drafted Debo Samuel and
yeah,
Jamar
yeah.
Chase and Cooper Cup and some guys,
But
later than.
I think in general, you're absolutely correct. Is you kind of have to, but I don't think you're happy about it. Like you have to, but you're not thrilled.
Yeah, there's
Um,
definitely some conversations to be had. Like and when we have uh, McLaurin, which we like more. Pittman,
oh yeah,
even though I don't like the matchup, we like more. Then you have Lockett and DeAndre Hopkins, who's on bye this week. But yeah, we've had like this rotating thing where we're not sure who to throw it because
but
it's
another
just
week like this, and Hopkins comes back. I think Lockett is the immediate. I think he's on your bench.
yeah, and he has been a few weeks. So
Yeah,
I does Lockett is. I do think this week we have Tyreek on bye. We have Hopkins on bye. We have a couple big guys on bye. You could have those guys where we have Hopkins and you could have Tyreek and
yeah.
Lockett or something like that. I think you're probably rolling them. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say you don't feel good about it because he's still a really good receiver. If you're going to play him over most guys. It's just
No,
you know that there could be a big fat 3 points or something because it's not. It's been a lot of up and down. So
yeah. I Yeah. I
And
think there's a lot of leagues where Lockett's going to be benched this week, and I think probably going forward until he shows something.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, he had. I mean, he showed something this one. I mean, 4 for 115. I mean, it's not
I
bad.
understand that.
And he's had some big weeks. Weeks 1 and 2 were most of it than week 8, and then this week was pretty
Yeah.
solid. I will say one last thing with this: Alex Collins, even as a
Rest
starting
season.
running back, I don't even know if he's a top 30 guy. I probably not, honestly. I think I'd rather
Mhm.
start obviously both the New England guys. There's teams if Ingram and Kamara both went, I would
I'd rather
start
have Ingram. Yeah.
Ingram. I'd rather start Ty Johnson, which is obvious. I'd rather start both the Washington guys. Like, there's a lot of teams I'd start two guys before I'd even touch Alex Collins. So I would
Yeah.
steer away.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, he's had the job and it hasn't been good.
Yeah, and
So,
also DJ Dallas was identical snap count pretty much in this game. So we're not even sure how if he's the definitive number one guy. So
yeah. Last up, Washington football team. I'm just pulling up real quick to see if there's any new news.
they have changed their
Uh,
name from the Washington football team. Nope, just
oh
kidding.
no,
No,
I've
that
given
is.
up on that. Um, Trying to see if Logan Thomas. I meant to look this up before show. That would have been the proper thing to do.
I want to say no because we
But
didn't see anything with. I think from the last I heard, uh his
it looks
report
like
is set
they're
to
actually
practice.
Okay.
Okay, he might
Yeah,
play.
yeah. It looks
All
like he
right.
might play.
If if you've had him on your roster this long, I mean, I guess if he comes back, you got to roll him out there. I mean, right? I mean, Bates
I
was.
would.
I feel like he's just like as all the guys you throw in there. They throw the tight ends a lot. John Bates was 3 for 23 with just 3 targets. I was thinking he'd do a little bit more, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's John Bates. It's their third tight end, so it's
Yeah,
not. But yeah, I think if he's out there, you've had him this whole time. Roll him out there.
might
Terry
as well rock with him.
McLaurin, really, really good. I continue to say if you have him, you should play him because he's good.
Yeah.
That's my
Well, listen,
analysis.
I know you've. We talked about it earlier. I'm a little bit lower on him than you are, but you're starting him. Like, he's not a not starter in your league. So,
And Heineke
um,
is one of these guys that is in that Tua. I mentioned Tarot. Like they're in that
oh yeah,
mix where you could be playing him. Like it's weird because he's always been ranked around 15, even 20-ish in there. But he's currently quarterback 15 on a points per game basis, and honestly, he's had some really nice weeks. Like I think he's a little undervalued, and I think there's a chance, if you have Mahomes or Kyler, that this will be the guy you roll out.
yeah, he's definitely in that streaming option consideration, which I don't think anybody preseason would have really expected at all.
Yeah, it
I mean,
wasn't
obviously, he
necessarily.
didn't start
Yeah,
preseason, but like, even if you said, "Hey, he's starting," I still don't think people are like, "All right, well, he's at he's with Jared Goff down in the basement." So, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say on the team. McLaurin, like I said, you're higher on him than I am, but he is very good, and he's definitely should be starting for you. I think Logan Thomas, if he plays, is an immediate start. Um, and at the running back position, you're probably rocking Gibson, but
yeah. I think.
he's at the lower end of me being able to say you're probably rocking him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a borderline top 15 guy, but there's plenty of guys you could have above him, like AJ Dillon.
Yeah,
You would obviously start above him. There's guys you could have picked up that.
I think
Uh,
he's probably I without looking at it, probably I'd say 18 is the highest I'd have him without looking at it, but
but yeah, I mean, he should be a solid play, but you're not super happy. He has been a little definitely a disappointment. Definitely a disappointment. And McKissick is where he's been at all year. He's in that 30-ish range, then
mhm.
around running back 30, and that might be good enough for you to play him, depending on your team.
Yep. All right, so that wraps up week 12. The NFL gives a couple lot they decided for Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. We're going to sit a bunch of stars for you so you don't have to have those pesky stars in your fantasy lineup with the Chiefs and the cards out. So, say your Chiefs and cards. Make sure there's 3 games on Thursday. We're not used to that. Like, you could be in big trouble if you don't set your lineup early in the week. So make sure you pay attention to all that. And we will be back the rest of the week with some other shows. I'd tell you what they are. I'm not sure what they are. So you'll find out with us. And we appreciate you coming by. If you made this far, hit the like. We very much appreciate it. Helps us out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you so much. If this is the last episode you hear before Thanksgiving, have a great Thanksgiving.
That's so.
If you're watching this after Thanksgiving, well, why are you watching so late? I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Honestly, I don't know when this goes up, so it might be close to Thanksgiving, but I don't know. It should be before, but yeah, have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great
I like how
holiday
you
with
say, "I'm
family.
not sure when it's going to go up." You're directly responsible for that.
I know. Anyways, yeah, have a wonderful holiday. Maybe even just if you don't, you're not with family, you can maybe get some time off work, which is nice too, or school. So, yeah, have a wonderful rest of the week. We'll be back. We'll be here. So, come on back, subscribe, all that stuff. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any episodes. Have a wonderful day. That's all we got. See ya.
See ya.